Let's go ahead and review Nature's Logic Canine Sardine Meal Feast. I've done a couple of their other recipes. This one was not included in that video. Someone requested it, so let's get to it. Here's the dude. They have a really long ingredients list that I didn't capture all of it. I decided to include the entire ingredients list, which I don't normally do because we don't see salt. And normally when we see salt, anything after that is less than 2% of the bag. So this stuff is gonna be more than 2%. So I decided to pay attention to it. What you're gonna miss at the very top of the screen is salmon meal, millet, and then the chicken fat. So salmon meal is an already processed form of the salmon. I like to see wholer forms of food, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Millet, we then get into a whole grain. Okay, chicken fat, highly rendered. All of that red stuff up there is going to be first low quality and or processed. So I don't like any of that, especially the spry dried pork liver. Why not just add pork liver into there? Then we have a whole list of these yellow things in there. Ideally, if we just had the kelp, the tomato, the apple, the pumpkin, those would land in a green category. Notice how the parsley and the rosemary are green. I like to feed my dogs less minimally processed, or more minimally processed. I like for my foods that I'm feeding my dogs to be the least processed as possible. So if I have an ingredient here that's already processed before it goes through the processing system to become the kibble, that's a lot of processing. Now, companies decide to do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's cheaper for them to get because it's lighter. They don't have to pay as much shipping to get these ingredients. And then number two, some people argue that this is better because when we have something like a regular kelp, a whole kelp, it's going to lose water. It's going to lose that moisture while it goes through the cooking process. So then the actual amount of that food in this list might change. Whereas if I have a dried version of it, when it goes through processing, it's not going to be losing that water moisture content. So therefore it's going to be more true to the volume in which this list was made. So pros and cons to them. Me personally, I like to see everything as least processed as possible. Now here we have dried lactobacillus acidophilus fermentation, and all these extra fun words right here. These are going to be your probiotics. Now a lot of companies put these in there and they like to market it. We have pre and probiotics in our recipe. I question the bioavailability and the efficacy of these things because they've gone through such a high cooking process. These are living organisms, and once we cook kibble through that extrusion process, which is usual multiple exposures to high heat, we are killing off a lot of nutrients. So are these things even actually alive? The supplements that I give my dogs, that's a pre, a pro, and a digestive, a prebiotic, probiotic, and a digestive enzyme supplement, has to be refrigerated. So I really question how good of a job these guys are doing in here in a kibble. When we look at the protein content, we're sitting at 36%. I really like that percentage. Our carb content is pretty comparable to that, almost a 1-to-1 ratio, sitting at somewhere between 32 and 38%. That's still kind of high. And that's really just because we had a lot of those fruits and veggies, which probably does jack up that carb content. So to make this food better, I would do whole food sources, not that salmon meal, not all those dried fruits and vegetables. I would do more animal protein, so either more salmon or more types of animal protein, and I also would do less variety of that plant fiber, those fruits and vegetables. Now, I also try to take into consideration price. On Chewy, this comes out to $3.60 per pound, which is pretty high, especially when you're not getting a lot of whole foods. We do see lots of better quality ingredients. There's not that many reds. We just have a lot of decent ingredients that were already processed. So I'm gonna give this guy a C-. If I had more whole foods, better quality ingredients, then I think it'd be worth that $3.60 a pound, or $3.60 per pound. Or if it was that ingredients list but lower in price, I might give it a higher grade.